I'm Ben Bergeson. This is the oral presentation for DBS 233. Countries from around the world send their best athletes to compete in a variety of sports like swimming, cross country, track, soccer, boxing, basketball, water polo, diving, gymnastics, bicycling, and many more sports, all to achieve one thing: the gold medal. They all come to compete on a world stage to try and pull off a victory for their country. This is the Olympic Games. This all seems like athletes and trying to see the gloriness of being the best. But really, there's a lot of business that goes on in the background, behind the scenes. Like the construction that goes into it before. Construction, most of the countries in the world that are having the Olympic sports don't actually have the huge amenities that we have here. Like London, for instance, they're having the next one, and they're already building a massive stadium to try and compensate for the construction game. Not to mention all the road work and that sort of things, like in parking that they're going to have to do to be able to handle the massive amount of people that are coming from around the world to see the games. And then the food venues, all the food venues that they're going to have to put into these things to try and feed this amount of people, it's going to be huge. And then China, for instance, they had to actually cut off some of their variety of food that they had. Like they ate dog before, and they actually stopped eating dog while that time, stopped selling dog, because they didn't want to scare people off and just take people out of their culture and make it easier for other people to adapt. Then the commercial aspect, everything is booming. It makes it way bigger. Everyone wants to get their name up on the commercials whenever the Olympic Games are going on. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. There's a massive amount of people watching, which means massive amount of revenue for everyone. Like billboards, everything from billboards to what goes on the sides of everything, like the buildings, what's going to be around the stadiums. Anything that anyone sees is going to have something on it, and that's all going to be producing money for that country. And then there's the apparel aspect. The athletes are all going to have, especially the star athletes, are all going to have their thing that they're having, like the shoes for the track stars. They're all going to have their shoes that they're sponsoring and everything. The outfits, everyone's going to be looking at their outfits, and that's going to be the future outfits. Like 2 Olympics ago, they started wearing the tighter body, the full body, like instead of just the Speedos for the swimmer, and now it's kind of standard for everyone, and that's the new thing. And then just all the new stuff that's going to be coming out, it just is huge. My buddy Austin actually went to China 4 years before the Olympics, and he told me a couple of stories about how much they were changing, how much they were doing to try and adapt for it. And he was telling me how the cleaning of the streets was huge. Like when he went, it was super dirty, and they were already starting to transfer into making it more look like presentable to the world. And then they had to tear down a massive amount of buildings to make room for it all, and make areas for people to be able to stay, not like motels and everything else. It was just a huge product. My aunt also lives in Utah, and she was there for when they were redoing the Salt Lake to try and make it compatible for their Olympic Games, for their Winter Olympic Games. She's telling me how the streets, the major freeway that went through, they started construction 7 years before to try and adapt to the massive amount of people that are going to be coming. And then even when I went there, from the last time that I had gone there, I went snowboarding, and that place that actually held it was a massive amount of difference. Before it was kind of just like a little kind of average Joe ski resort, and then now it's just a massive multi-million-dollar. It said they'd actually be in debt for it for 80 years, and the guy who owns it won't even be making money. His grandchildren won't actually bring in the money from it before they start making money again. Then there's always the money exchange. The money exchange is huge because there's going to be so many people coming, like this money here. This is money from China, and they're going to have to be transferring all the money from the U.S. and everywhere else that's coming, and they're going to have to be transferring it into their currency, so then everyone will be taking it. So they're going to have to prepare for a long time to have enough money for that massive amount of people to be able to come and transfer their money into whatever country's money it is. And that's going to be a huge deal in itself. The souvenirs is another huge aspect. Because whenever anyone goes somewhere, you always have to go buy a little something for whatever it is, just as a memorabilia. And so whatever country or city even is one that's having it, like Salt Lake Games, they had all their Salt Lake stuff. They got all their stuff, the Chinese stuff. Like they might be able to sell stuff like this, like their chopsticks and stuff like that. Even stuff as small as that gets huge amount of revenue from it, and it gets way bigger just from an Olympic game like that. It gets the massiveness is just huge. It just affects every aspect. Business is a major contribution to the Olympic Games. I know everyone, when you see it on TV, you just think it's the athletes and just like, oh, the athletes and the announcers and or officials, and that's all that really goes into the Olympics game. But really, the majority of it is the business behind the scenes, like just building everything, getting everything prepared, and then even like having people. They have just so many people directing, trying to get everything into place for such a massive amount of people, and you gotta try and always top the year before or 4 years before that. So it's just a huge project. And each year or every 4 years, it just gets harder and harder. And that's just how it's gonna be. And it's just great for the country and great for the world.